right, sego zeo gwegu, the gunuwaradus, ne giga dini gorihoda, ni wahni doda, gasanahoe sky deer yujats, honda ia de ne radizahayas. So welcome everybody, and just wanted to honor and acknowledge that we are in the middle of Cultural Awareness Month. And I'm Gasanahoe Sky Deer, Grand Chief, and we wanted to have this press conference today because we have some very exciting announcements as it pertains to our Kahnawake housing. We came 5 months ago for a press conference, obviously announcing not so good news with regard to the lack of movement in the with the prosecutor with regard to the housing scandal. I know it's been called in the community, but nonetheless, we're trying to put that behind us, and what we've been working toward is trying to find ways of moving forward with regard to housing so that we're better servicing the needs of the community. And we have here our Executive Director, Onaratoka Marqui, as well as AJ, our Executive Operations Officer, Aredi Mairu, who is our housing director, and Radzahayas Ryan Montour. So, we coordinated today's press conference, like I said, to announce some good news. And I just wanted to give my express thanks to Kahnawake Ronu. We know that these last couple of years hasn't been the greatest when it comes to our housing services, that we've had to look at the way we've been doing business and, revamping the way the unit was structured, our policies. A lot of things are outdated. There's been a lot of with regard to CMHC and the way we get funding, that they've been cutting, and not providing us adequate resources so that we could have the kind of, housing delivery services that we would hope. But like I said, today is a new day, and I would like to turn it over to our Executive Director. But again, just again, thanking the community for the patience to allow us to undertake this work. It doesn't end today. Obviously, today is just the start of new things on the horizon and exciting times to come. So, we look forward to this journey with all of you. So, Nyawakoa.
Now, Gasanahoe, for your opening remarks and introduction. So again, welcome everybody. Thank you for taking the time to be with us here today. As Gasanahoe already alluded to a few months ago, in last November, MCK announced results associated to the housing fraud criminal investigation. At that time, we also announced substantial changes that we made to the housing unit, as well as internal restructuring that took place at that time. It's been several months since our update, so I'm happy that we're in a position today to be providing you with some new news regarding new developments that's been taking place in the MCK housing unit. Firstly, Gasanahoe already touched on this, but want to give a big yamakoa to so many individuals, employees within the MCK who've done trying endless work to get us to this point. To my right here, we have Executive Operations Officer Alan John. He's about 6-7 months new to the role, but taken on big responsibility and happy with what he's been doing with the housing unit. We also have Radzahayas Ryan Montour, Portfolio Chief on the housing file. Director of Housing, Aredi Maliaru. Also want to thank her entire team at the housing unit, the Council of Chiefs as a whole, as well as the finance unit. I don't want to forget about them. Clearly, I think it's taken a lot of collaboration and communication, obviously collaboration between both the administrative and the political body to get us to this point. And again, just want to say Nyawakoa to everybody. Gasanahoe again touched on this, but I think it's important that we stress our acknowledgement and appreciation for the community's ongoing patience and understanding while we've embarked on a lot of work over the past few years. So without further ado, I did want to introduce our first speaker on the panel, Radzahayas Ryan Montour.
Sego So I am Ryan Montour. I am the lead on the housing portfolio. The massive challenges that we did inherit from the previous administration. I'm here today to announce some new exciting news. The team that's sitting before you is tasked with overcoming the past challenges of the housing unit. I want to point out to my right, we have the unit director, already Maya Rue, that has a background in banking, MBA in finance, and marketing, and a specialized degree in project development. I want to introduce her to the community. I will give her an opportunity to introduce herself. From what I heard from the executive office and operations, she's one of the hardest pushers for the housing unit. Strict and stern, and that's exactly what we need at this time. To my left, AJ Rice, who has experience in manager of MCK operations, who has experience as on the political side as being a former chief just recently, and also now as an executive. I think it's a well-rounded role that gives him the opportunity to quickly assess situations and make quick decisions that would benefit the organization as a whole. So the three leadership positions, along with the strategic alignment between the political side with Kahnawake and Carly, has allowed us to face these challenges head on. I can't say enough about the roles and responsibilities that we as an organization have taken on. I think in our society, the women should take an active role in the leadership positions, and the roles and responsibility of the men is to support them. So I can't say enough about the leadership coming from the executive office and the Grand Chief's office. So I just want to acknowledge them, Yamagoa, and handing us this task. At this time, I will give an opening remark statements to introduce herself to the community.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you all. My name is Areti Maliarou. I have been the housing director at the MCK for the last 2 years. First of all, I would like to thank the MCK, the Executive Office, and the community for giving me the opportunity to be part of this organization. It's a great opportunity for me, and I'm very excited that I'm being able to contribute for the best future for the housing at the present moment. Having said that, regarding my background, I do have the business credentials needed, the financial analysis background and project management that have assisted me in order to being able to identify objectively the gaps in the unit and in the processes. And now we are glad to be in the position to announce a new structure for the housing unit, new projects and processes and policies that allow us to be very transparent and rebuild trust with the community member, with our current tenants and potential new clients. It has taken a lot of time and hard work, but we are confident now that the new housing unit will be able to meet the needs of the community members with more personalized service experience and, above all, more transparency and accountability to the community. More specifically, we are introducing 2 new roles in the unit, a client experience manager and a program manager. The selected candidates will start next week. We have also created a new role of housing programs and project management coordinator, and an internal staff member has been promoted, recognized to that role, and all of us were working hard to accomplish the best for the community. I would like to pass now to our Executive Operations Officer.
All right, so go ahead. So I've been introduced a few times now, so I'll just say it again. Alan John Rice, or AJ Rice. I'm the Executive Operations Officer. So just a little bit about what I'm going to be talking about. I started this position in late October, and not long after that, the community was hit with some very disappointing news, as Kahnawake had mentioned. But with the bad news also came a little bit of good following that. That good was from the housing studies, which were commissioned by the Council of Chiefs. These studies validated much of what we knew about the housing issues going on across basically Indian country and all of Canada. And it provided that, sorry about that. Problem with writing something is you get lost in it. The studies validated much of what we already know about housing, and providing housing services that our community deserves will be a daunting task, is something we've learned from this. We already knew that we had a lot to do, but the studies really validated just how much of that we have to do, and how we're looking at this as a long-term plan, and to game plan to be able to meet the housing needs that our community deserves. Yes, we need to have increased housing stock, and we need to ensure that the housing units and programs that we move forward with are sustainable. The housing study is one of the early steps in creating a housing strategy that will move us forward for the years to come. The validated data will be used to leverage funding for community housing during a crucial time when construction costs are as high as they've ever been. We will also use the data collected to revamp our programming and ensure we're offering the best possible service for our housing clients, be it community housing, renters, homeowner programs, or for people who are looking to purchase homes through our loan programs. Already had already mentioned the other study, which was our restructuring study with restructuring of the unit. But the other part of that study was to be done was for reconciliation of our files. It's well known that there was many issues with the reconciliation of accounts for our housing clients. This study was carried out by consultants called the Osborne Group. They took a forensic look at the need to reconcile for our clients. The study reviewed over 282 mortgages and home renovation files. Some of these files required multiple reviews, so this is partly the reason for the time that it's been taken. There's been a lot of issues that came up. Some of them required 5, 6 alternate reviews to be sure. So this task is critical to our housing unit moving forward. Now that the data is complete, we'll be moving forward with implementing a strategy to reconcile of accounts for each client that requires it. The work is not done by any means, but the tools and the groundwork are in place for us moving forward to build a strong foundation and continue to provide housing services and meet the roles that Kahnawake deserves. Yawa.
Yeah, well, guys, this is the team that's tasked, obviously, with the turnaround for the housing unit. So the reason why I assembled you guys here today, we do have exciting news. I think it's positive news for our community, and it's a community win for Kahnawake. So in 2013, the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake Operations Department borrowed $1.2 million from the housing reserves and used it to cover operational deficiencies at that time. And I would be remiss if I didn't include and make a remark about the late Chief Martin LeBorn here, who fought hard to get that monies returned. I'm proud to say, under the leadership of the Executive Office and the strategic alignment of the new leadership of the Mohawk Council of 22, the budget announcement was approved, and the return of $2.2 million has been officially verified to be placed into the housing reserves for future needs and service delivery. The second part of why I asked you guys to come here that I think is important is the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake Housing Unit is in a position now to continue the completion of Project 7, which is the lifting of the internal construction freeze that we had for future housing under Section 95 of CMHC, which is non-for-profit housing. We're announcing today here we are building houses for Kahnawake. At this time, we are announcing we are doing in the short term, which is this fiscal year, we are building 3 new houses. The original project was slated for 8 new houses. Within those 3 houses, 1 will be handicap accessible, taking into account the needs of our special needs community members and the capacity building that that we have. I think the news here is that the internal construction freeze has been lifted. We are at a point now within operations, within the housing unit specific, that yes, we can build houses for community members. One other point I would like to say that we officially adopted a policy. We will not use social housing anymore. The Mohawk Council of Kahnawà is in the business of providing hand up, helping our community members. We will be referring to it as community housing from now on in all aspects, whether it be print media, policy making. We don't want to let our community members feel less than, you know. We are 100% involved with our community members. We have opened up a new communications. Last month we unveiled a community newsletter that was introduced. We all provided a copy here today, opening up communications with community members for, you know, to let you guys know what we're doing. So that will be announced quarterly. We have committed, the Mohawk Council of Kahnawà, the Office of the Council of Chiefs, has committed to a specific community meeting specifically for housing, which will take place, we're shooting for early June, before the heat gets on, to update community members and to present what we have been doing. I would be remiss if I did not thank the housing employees, you know, and the fight that the OCC has constantly made with operations concerning the allocation of resources for the staffing issues that were identified early on. I think we have 10 new members with the recent announcement at a very specific client experience manager, construction and properties manager. You know, we separated the housing unit into 3 different sections. Program manager is one, the client experience manager, and I'll let Aurelia announce the name, but I think it's a very important person from Kahnawà with experience in client-facing services. You know, we see examples of the housing unit that is working and functioning at a well thing. I think we had up to 20 community members who participated in an unreserved loan program that have completed their obligations, and we have turned over the keys, so to speak, to them to move into their new houses. Personal home construction has always been open. It was never closed. These are more community housing that we are aiming to continue to build. At the same time, we are asking community members, private businesses, the business community to help and come in, present projects for public-private partnerships. We're looking at modular housing, you know, rent to own. We are looking at so much opportunities for our community members to basically have shelter over their head. So there's an open call for help within this. A lot of calls I get with the housing unit, it's just specific where processes come in. You know, I want to reach out and tell you guys that the community members are ready, willing, and able to help. Okay, so I had a 20-year-old come in to my office, and I was expecting a complaint. You know, and it was really touching that a 20-year-old would come into our offices and present me a proposal to help. You know, I've met elders in their homes, and they want to help. So I think we see a real focus on community buy-in and community willingness to help. So at this time, I would like to open up the floor for AJ maybe to see what he's seen from the executive side and to touch upon his 2 areas that he's going to be focusing on, which is the reconciliation of accounts. It's very important that we are putting in measures to rebuild the trust in this unit specific, but especially the trust in government. There's certain measures that we implemented with respect to rebuilding the trust of the community through our housing unit and in turn the community at large. So building measures, policies, implementation. Policy equals better lives. We rewrote the playbook on housing. We advocated the executive office to give us the resources. They seconded certain expertise within the MCK unit to come to housing and to help us. As a role of governance, we have to give them the direct input, community demands, community pressure. And I can tell you, every single chief on this table is relentless in the pursuit of building houses. They are pressuring the housing unit as much as they can to listen and to meet community demands. There's not one chief that sits on this table that is not listening to the community and pressuring the executive office and the housing unit specific to build more houses. Like I said, we're here to announce the short-term plans and to tell you here the housing unit is functioning. It's in a good place. We rebuilt the foundation. It's working. We see examples of this on something as simple as renewal of the leases, right? So we had the managers there, and we invite every client of the housing unit, community housing, to come in and renew their leases, to update it, number of occupants, income, their situation updates. We sat in. I have as the lead, I'm able to sit in on these meetings. I sat in as an observer, but I can tell you the feedback from community members when they see little examples of this working. It tells you that community members are happy with the progress so far. We did release the newsletter. There was over 295 calls within 3 months of this year. New managers. Since I've been there, we had 2 new general managers for housing. We're in the process of announcing a new hire this week, so that would be our 3rd general manager. And I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the work that Heather Jacobs-White has done in the interim for the policy development and policy processes that were put in place. We did rewrite 38 policies within the housing unit, anywhere from complaint policies to renewal of lease policies under the guiding principle that every community member will be treated the same. From Lisa to Greg Horn to everyone sitting out there, you will be treated the same. There is no one that will is favoritism, and the way we ensure that from a governance perspective is policy making. Policy making ensures everybody is treated the same. So. What this means for long-term planning, we are obviously in the long-term planning sessions right now. I'm happy and elated to say that there is infrastructure officer that was recently hired. The executive director has 6 executives now in place with their mandate to make decisions. Let us concentrate on the short-term plan, execute the plan, and bring up the housing unit back to respectability, and of course, building measures in a fair way, in a responsive way, in a reliable way, and of course, integrity. We are bringing back integrity back to the housing unit and in relation to community. So at this time, I'll let AJ expand on his views from an executive office and what he sees with our employees and the housing unit in general.
Thanks, Ryan. So just coming from my perspective, from being able to work on from the Council of Chiefs to the executive office, it's been a great experience for me, and I'd like to just continue moving forward. At this time, I think we might be able to get more information and get them out with the questions coming from the people here. So I think this would conclude our press conference.